Hello, everyone. I did say I would go live as soon as there was any more news on the Morgan Gibbs-White situation, and I'm afraid there is. David Ornstein has dropped that Morgan Gibbs-White is in talks with Nottingham Forest to sign a new contract. And rest in peace, my YouTube comments, because Nottingham Forest fans are going to go nuclear on this. I've been so sure that Morgan Gibbs-White's deal to Spurs would go through with us having triggered the release clause. And I don't know what Mad Marinakis, the Nottingham Forest chairman, has done, held him hostage, or the exact amount of money that he's probably had to promise Morgan Gibbs-White every single week. But yes, according to David Ornstein, Gibbs-White is going to stay. And in fact, Ben Jacobs has just broken the news that Morgan Gibbs-White has signed a new contract at Nottingham Forest until 2028. Marinakis said this: Morgan is a special player, not just in terms of talent, but character and mentality. He represents what we want this football club to be. He is a winner, talented, ambitious, fearless, and proud. There was significant interest from various clubs, but we were determined to build our future with Morgan at the heart of it. Oh, my God. And Forest have put it on their website under the title, "A Statement of Intent from Our Owner, Evangelos Marinakis, as Morgan Gibbs-White signs a record deal at the club." So they're actually announcing. You don't actually see football clubs announce that they've done a record contract offer, the amount of money they're going to pay them every week. Oh, my goodness. This is, I have to say, and I'm sure I'll already be seeing it in my comments, but the Spurs fan base is going to turn on Daniel Levy so hard this week. They're going to blame Daniel Levy, and I don't know. I don't know whether Spurs could have done any more really than trigger the release clause at this stage. James Coy says Spurs have been played. James, what do you mean by that? Are you suggesting that Morgan Gibbs-White's agent kind of used Spurs to get more money from this new deal? It's honestly, I'm pretty glass half full Spurs fan, but this is like a kick in the guts, and I'll tell you why. Many reasons for a start, but just look at what's happening down the road at Arsenal. They came second last year, and they've signed 6 players already this summer. Spurs have signed Kudus and the Japanese boy. And the problem is that once we were in for Morgan Gibbs-White, I was like, yeah, he is the perfect creative player that we need. We need more creativity. Just look at those 2 friendlies today. When Maddison and Kulusevski are not available, just look at the lack of creativity straight down the middle. And I just thought Gibbs-White is the perfect player for that. He clearly wanted to come to Spurs. And then Marinakis just went, nah, mate. And we're going to give you ridiculous sums of money. I'll tell you what will have happened. I think they will have upped his release clause in this new deal. So his release clause will probably now be £100 million. So that rules Tottenham out from ever going for him. And Ezza's going to go to Arsenal as well. So he's not going to come to Spurs. I'd love to know from you guys in the comments, who is there that we can go for next as a creative number 10, who we could potentially get in at a similar kind of price level. We know we're willing to spend £60 million on it. But who is there available that we could actually get? I don't know. I'm absolutely gutted. I'm absolutely gutted. And really, it makes no sense to do a live stream at like 10:40 on a Saturday night. Hardly anyone's going to see it. But the reality is, I told you guys the whole time that I would get on live as soon as there was any news on this Gibbs-White transfer. And I have to say, I have to hold my hands up. And there'll probably be Nottingham Forest fans watching this already. I have to hold my hands up. I really thought it was going to happen. I was pretty punchy when it came to making videos about Nottingham Forest and losing their player to Spurs. But Marinakis has proved that he is willing to fight. And I don't know if I've seen Daniel Levy lose a kind of one-on-one like that. But Marinakis has put his money where his mouth is. I bet Morgan Gibbs-White's got double pay at the moment. Could be interesting in terms of Nottingham Forest and PSR, of course. They've already had a points deduction for that already. Dearie me. Lots of people unhappy. Nolan Walker, I'm absolutely fuming. Me too, mate. Me too. And also saying we are an absolute joke. I mean, tell me, what more do you think we could have done? We triggered the release clause. Do you mean, we should have gone in £10 million above the release clause? I don't know. It just doesn't seem very realistic. Sai's going to go well, says we are effed. It really feels like a bad one, this. It really feels like a bad one. Just when, do you remember, it was like 2 weeks ago yesterday, we had that day, we'd signed Kudus, it looked like we were getting Morgan Gibbs-White over the line. And suddenly we were like, oh, we spent £115 million in a day. We've obviously got some investment. It's all happening. And now we've wasted 2 fucking weeks on this, whilst in the background, Marinakis just presumably upping his offer to Gibbs-White contract-wise, upping it until he couldn't say no. And absolutely devastating news. Just got people texting me saying we're an absolute joke. Tamuri Kets-Bias says Gibbs-White is crap. James Maddison is miles better. Yeah, but James Maddison unfortunately gets very injured. Also, I don't think Gibbs-White is crap. I have to say, I'm not going to just start saying he's crap because we haven't got him. Madders unfortunately gets injured. He's a great player, but he gets injured too much, and Kulusevski is going to be out for a good few months. We need some more creativity. When we saw it last season, when we don't have those players available, we are so one-dimensional. It's untrue. Brett Cox says, so now we move on to someone else. It hurts, but got to move forward. Guys, let me know in the comments, who do you want us to go for next? Donovan Berg also says, on to the next one. Chooks says, great news. Now we know Levy is shit. So this is what I'm talking about. Like, I knew there would be people saying that it's Daniel Levy's fault. Like, what more could they have done than triggered the release clause? What, gone in £10 million higher? I just don't know. Jim A agrees, says Levy and Langer, absolute frauds. Plush Teddy says, I don't blame Levy. For me, I need to accept it and hate Morgan Gibbs-White. I think that's an asshole move. Okay, so you're turning on Gibbs-White. You think that him and his agent have used this situation to get more money out of Nottingham Forest. Interesting. Yeah, James Coy says, used Spurs as a pay rise. Gamecock says, Elliott or Mainu next then. There are some reports about Harvey Elliott, but that is not, that is not a signing that's going to move the needle at Spurs. He's a decent player, but he can't get in the Liverpool side. He's had his big move to Liverpool. He's not going to come to Spurs and be massively motivated. I could be wrong, but I just don't see that moving the needle at all. Brandon de Jong says, Forest can keep Morgan Gibbs-White. We only want players who want to play for us. There are so many better players than him. Move on. We have a month left in this window. Let's get some deals done. Jazzle says, saga over, onwards and upwards. Honestly, I can't tell you how much abuse I'm going to get from Nottingham Forest fans in my comments. And I hold my hands up. I deserve it. I deserve it. I got overexcited. I thought it was a deal that was definitely going to be done. And yeah, I don't know. I guess you can't trust agents, can you? But is it possible the agent leaked the release clause to Spurs? Spurs put a bid in, making Marinakis go mad to the point where he just kept upping his contract offer to Morgan Gibbs-White until it was like money he could not turn down. It's probably like 200 grand a week or something. I don't know. Here we go, ads. Why would he want to go to Spurs? Bunch of tight clowns tapping up players. Why didn't he sign for Spurs if you triggered the release clause? I think because Marinakis just presumably kept offering him money. And he's probably on 200, 250 grand a week now at Nottingham Forest, which is interesting because what tends to happen at clubs if something like that happens is a lot of players who are also at the club will then go, well, if he's on that, then I'm going to need more money as well. It could be interesting for Forest's PSR down the line. Let's see what happens. Jim A, yeah, says Harvey Elliott, Jacob Ramsey or Garnacho incoming. Yeah, Jacob Ramsey is probably one that we'll now bid for again, I would have thought, from Aston Villa. Decent player, but doesn't get me excited the way that Gibbs-White did. Look, I'm going to be honest, like the Spurs fans were absolutely massively excited about this signing. I know they were because the views on my videos over the last 2 weeks when it looked like we were getting Gibbs-White over the line just got so much bigger. And it was one of those signings that looked like it was, it had come out of the blue and it showed intention and desire for the club to kind of try and mix it and get experienced England international players in. Deary me. And now not. Ronnie says Xavi Simons. No, because he's another one who's on our list who's now going to Chelsea. Chelsea, basically, it's so difficult for Spurs to get players in because anyone on our list, Chelsea just come in for. Deary me. Checkmate 734. It's looking like that word summer. Deary me. Max Harris says, get signing players, then Levy. Yeah, Levy, I've got to say, Levy and Vinay now under massive pressure tonight, tomorrow. And also, clubs know that we're willing to spend £60 million. So that's going to up their prices on evaluations on players that maybe Spurs go in for next. It's been a bad 2 weeks. Bad 2 weeks for Spurs. Cantums has just joined. What happened? Well, I'm sure you know by now, but Morgan Gibbs-White has signed a new contract at Nottingham Forest, an absolute killer blow for Tottenham. And for those of us fans who have been basically joyously living in the fact that we thought that great player was going to come to Spurs. Brandon says we should go for Xavi Simons. Yeah, but he's going to Chelsea, mate. Gear says, well, I knew it would fall through. I'll be honest, I didn't think it was going to fall through. I didn't. And I should have. I should have been more negative about it. I saw that Alistair Gold has tweeted, I never liked Saturdays anyway. Nelson P says, go for Adam Wharton. I just think that's an even more difficult deal to do than Morgan Gibbs-White. He only signed for Crystal Palace 18 months ago or so. Crystal Palace, they have Gay, he wants to leave. They have Eze, who wants to leave. They're not going to sell all of those players. I don't think so. I really don't think so. Sean Bauer, Spurs thought they were getting Morgan Gibbs-White. What a bunch of idiots the Spurs fan base are. Well, honestly, I think other than that Luis Suarez situation where Arsenal bid 40 million plus £1, I've not seen a situation really where a release clause is triggered, the player wants to go, Ornstein and Romano give it the old here we go treatment, and then suddenly a mad criminal chairman, allegedly criminal chairman, comes in and says, no, mate, I'm not going to let you go. In fact, I'm just going to keep offering you money until you have to accept. Deary me. Yeah, DB says he folded to his thug owner. Yeah, he really did. I wonder if the fact that his partner's heavily pregnant had anything to do with him maybe wanting to stay as well. But dearie me. Aunt Johan saying the laughing stock FC. I've got to say, at the moment, Tottenham will get memed over the next 24, 48 hours. We are going to get a lot of crap come our way, and then the Tottenham fans will get angry about it, and they'll be blaming Daniel Levy, and so the circle continues again. We're in the Champions League. We should be able to get players over the line. And there we go already. Like I said, Levy is a cancer in our football club. Please explain, LK, what you think you should have done differently. 7-11 Evans says he used us. We don't know. That's the thing. We don't really know. But the fact that Forest are absolutely reveling in it, literally on their Twitter account saying that it's a record deal. Deary me. Deary me. Checkmate 734 says Tottenham effed up. They got caught with their hands in the cookie jar. If you're going to tap him up, don't make it look so obvious. We didn't tap him up, mate. The agent came to us, and now if you look at it now, it's like we've been used. Actually, we've been used to get a ridiculous sum of money per week out of your club. So it's not, we didn't tap him up. That's just not how it is. Omni says Forest PSR deduction wasn't even about money. They handed in paperwork late. It was literally about money, mate. What are you talking about? Benison says maybe he has the same release clause in the new contract. No, he won't. I bet it's at £100 million now. I bet it is. Robert says if Morgan Gibbs-White wanted Spurs, he would have gone. Not sure. Ad says so it's his pay, lol. He wasn't bothered about Spurs, just the extra money. Who knows? We'll literally never know that, and it's almost like it doesn't really matter because, as some people are saying, Spurs are just the laughing stock now. The only positive I can try and find from this is like there's going to be so much pressure on Levy and Vinay now to bring someone in to appease the fans, because the fans are going to be absolutely, especially the corner of the Spurs fan base who already hate Daniel Levy, they are going to be absolutely livid over the next few days. Dear. DB says compete on all fronts, and Ange was the problem though. I mean, Ange did get a 17th place, mate. Max Smith asked what the F is happening. Julian says we clearly got caught out legally. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I do think there is a chance now, realistically, a lot of people are saying it. I think there is a chance that the agent did kind of use Spurs to get more money from Forest. I mean, it'd be interesting to, I doubt many Forest fans will complain, but you must know that basically Gibbs-White is just with you now for the money. He wants to play at Champions League level. He's just with you because he was offered so much money. How does that feel? I wonder if that will affect his motivation. Probably not. Ad says 63 million is what you should have bid, but Levy is tight. I have to say, mate, I see what you're getting at, but I don't think Marinakis would have reacted any differently if we'd bid 63 or 65 million. I really don't. I don't think it was about the 60 million thing. Cantab says, glad the saga is over, though. Oh, dear. Kevin Peck says, it has to be said, if Morgan Gibbs-White did want the move, he could have really kicked off at Forest. Yeah, he wasn't willing to do that. And there are people doing that at the moment. Obviously, Alexander Isak is doing that at Newcastle because he wants his move to Liverpool. And Johan Visser is doing that at Brentford because he wants to move to Newcastle. Now, it'd be interesting to see. Maybe Tottenham will go in harder now for Johan Visser. 27 years old. He doesn't excite me in the same way as Morgan Gibbs-White, I have to say. Ronnie says, played us. If he really wanted Spurs, he would have got Spurs. Dear Max Smith, we are an effing joke. What a waste of time. LK says, we want to win the Premier League and Champions League. All words from Levy. Listen, I've said many times on this channel, I'm not pro-Levy or anti-Levy really, but I don't really know what he could have done differently this time. I'm not going to be like it's all Levy's fault, but I know a lot of you will be. Asif says, how do we move on from this? Who should we sign instead? That's it. I actually don't have anyone in mind because Eze is clearly waiting for a move to Arsenal, as if things couldn't get any worse. Yeah, I wonder if we'll go in harder for Visser. Oh dear. Slick Spurs says it's an absolute joke, and to be honest, I'm shocked with Gibbs-White for staying at Forest. So useless. And Rain Man says it was clear once Morgan Gibbs-White didn't work to make the move that it wasn't going to happen. We were third parties in the whole affair. Joshua Watson, we're in the pits again in the doldrums. God, it's comical watching the fans and the creators on wrist slip mode. Yeah, it does feel a bit like that tonight, to be honest. It does feel a bit like that. Yeah, Brandon de Jong says, I hope Palace win the appeal and get Europa League. Yeah, I wonder how Morgan Gibbs-White will feel if he is only playing in the Conference League. But I've got a feeling that Palace won't win their appeal, to be honest. It's the people with the money that really count. And clearly Marinakis has money up the wazoo that he's happy to throw around. Will says, at least we can get on with things now. And Mad Matskars says, going to be Harvey Elliott, isn't it? Yeah, maybe, but yeah, it doesn't fill me with excitement, I have to say. Dark Angel 56, I thought this, to be honest. Marinakis must have scared the shit out of this guy. Yeah, there are some reports that Marinakis is quite a scary dude, quite an intimidating dude, and he's in with some pretty dodgy folk, apparently. Kurt Roberts says Tottenham need to do something or we're going to fall even further behind. Yeah, if you look at what Liverpool and Arsenal have done already in this window, and they finished first and second, Tottenham finished 17th, and we've got Kudus in, and that's it. Absolutely devastating, this news, I have to say. Will says nothing to do with Levy. I kind of agree with you, mate. DB says Simon's gone, Eze not coming. What promising 12-year-old is out there? It's been a bad day already. I was going to do a post-match review of the Luton game, but it was so boring that I couldn't. It was so bad. And I have to say there were some players there who did not do themselves justice, particularly Mikey Moore and Archie Gray. I thought they were completely absent from the game in the most part. Yeah, I don't know. But listen, we played split teams in the two friendlies today, but we've got Arsenal on Thursday night. We fly to Asia tomorrow. We've got Arsenal on Thursday night. I think Arsenal are already out there. They're going to have the excitement of kind of Gyökeres just having signed. Oh, God. I do worry about it. Will says, I think we sue Forest. I don't see how that happens. Hung Diddley says, we need to move for Eze and Paulinho quick smart. Eze's going to Arsenal, mate. Eze is definitely going to Arsenal. Lazy 8 says it's not on Tottenham. This is Marinakis doing whatever he can to not appear the loser. Morgan Gibbs-White hadn't signed. There's nothing we could have done. Yeah, I think there is some truth to that. I do. Max Smith doesn't want Harvey Elliott at Spurs. LK says, why do other big clubs just get the deals done? We drag our heels and mess about. It's infuriating. Yeah, it really is infuriating. Brandon asked, do we have any grounds to sue Forest, seeing as though we triggered his release clause? My guess is absolutely not. Marcus Reed Thomas says he never wanted to come. Ronnie says, Grealish. I have to say, I think signing Grealish would be a terrible idea. I'd be happy to be proven wrong, but he got bought for £100 million. He's on about 300 grand a week. Think how demotivated he'd be to take a drop down to Spurs. I just think that would be a terrible idea. And a little bit of wishful thinking here from Slick Spurs. I hope Spurs use this as a we are angry and sign lots of top players. I cannot see that. Steve's made a good point here. 15 days of nothing. Exactly. It's been a complete waste of time. And now it looks like, it doesn't look like there's that investment that we all thought there might be, does it? Because otherwise, why wouldn't we have, whilst trying to get this deal over the line, why wouldn't we be pushing for other deals as well? It just makes Tottenham look so amateur. And I have to hold my hands up. Like I made videos with titles like, why are Nottingham Forest acting like such a tiny club? They're not a tiny club. They're historically a huge club. They've won the European Cup. But I just thought the way Marinakis was acting, having had a release clause triggered that he put in, I just didn't think you could act like that. But he's shown that you can basically do anything you want. And he was like, no, I'm not letting you go. And here's the money that I can offer you. And he probably just kept raising that to, I guess we'll find out what he's on. But I bet it's about 200 or 250 grand a week. And Tottenham could not have got anywhere near that with any wages either. Deary me. Ronald says, wasted weeks on this transfer. All of our other targets are linked with moves away elsewhere. Yep. And Lee Beach saying, if only Spurs had a chairman like Marinakis. I have to say, I wouldn't want Marinakis as my chairman. I could see why Forest probably think he's amazing right now, but these things have a way of coming back round, and there's something incredibly dodgy about that guy. Joshua says, when are you guys going to see that it is the club people don't want, and bringing in Frank didn't help? More players would have been interested if Ange was still here simply because of the stability. I'm not sure about that, mate. I don't know. Ange, he won us the Europa League, and he'll forever be a legend for that. But we conceded the same goal every single game last season, and we came 17th. Scott Saxton says, I thought you said Levy was sat back on his deck chair while it all implodes around Marinakis. Joker, don't mess with the Greek father. Yeah, well, yeah, he's a weird bloke, Marinakis, that's for sure. But I hold my hands up. You've got to hold your hands up. I got it wrong. I thought the deal was going to go through. And if you give it, you got to take it as well. So, yeah, I was wrong. Mike Prince, why are you wearing a bobble hat in this weather? Because I live in northern Canada, mate. That's why. Plush Teddy says, I don't think Morgan Gibbs-White used us, but he is just like Zubamendi, acting like a kid. And Robert Yee says, it's the danger when you recruit at this level only. Having a max only means other club knows how to beat Tottenham's recruiting. Steve says that Gibbs-White was only on 80 grand a week at Forest, so I can guarantee he's on a lot more now. Be interesting to see. I feel strongly that Tottenham will have to come and put some proper bids down on some players now. We are severely lacking creativity down the middle. And see what happens. Billy thinks Gibbs-White isn't that good anyway. Let's see what happens. Checkmate says, it's Tottenham's fault you got caught tapping him up. How is that Forest's fault? We didn't tap him up, mate. We didn't tap him up. How can we tap him up? We didn't know about his release clause. His agent used Tottenham. Clearly. Yeah, I knew the Forest fans would be in here. Marinakis totally owned Levy. Yeah, I mean, look, Levy got done here, but I'd be really interested to see how this is going to affect Nottingham Forest in terms of wages, because now that the other players will know the kind of wages that they've given to Morgan Gibbs-White, you just wait. Hudson-Odoi is going to be like, I need some of that. Anyone you could try and buy is going to be like, well, I know that Morgan Gibbs-White is on over 200 grand a week now, so it's going to be a bit of a nightmare for your PSR. Bear in mind, Nottingham Forest, they don't have any revenue really. Tiny little embarrassing ground from the 80s. And not big worldwide. So PSR-wise, this could be a problem for Forest down the line. Ramsey is a big target for Forest as well. I doubt they'll be going for Ramsey now. And so Tottenham might go back in for Jacob Ramsey. Tip Top Tottenham says we're actually cooked. It does feel like that tonight. Ayush wants us to go for Eze and Rodgers, but they're not going to come to Spurs. Eze wants Arsenal. That's a fact. Hung Diddley says Forest on the fast track to being broken, relegated quick smart. They'll get done again for PSR. Yeah, maybe. We'll see what happens. Moss Chop says Ramsey doesn't do it for me. I'm just going to say it. I'll hold my hands up again. I was very excited about Morgan Gibbs-White. I don't get that excited by Ramsey. And look, this is the problem. Tottenham swimming in transfer waters that they cannot afford. Any player who comes to Spurs has to have been rejected by about 6-8 clubs worldwide before joining Spurs. And now you can add on, being beaten by a chairman who's willing to pay wages that are far, far beyond what that player should be earning. But you can absolutely see why Nottingham Forest fans are happy tonight. You really can. SH says Tottenham should get Sesko. Don't know about that. Seems like lots of people are going for Sesko, but I don't know. Dave Bird says, listen, we've got to do the best we can this season and make Spurs more attractive to the best players. We properly need investment. This really shows how badly we need investment. We've had our pants pulled down here. It's not pretty. It's not going to be pretty in my YouTube comment for quite a while. I think it's fair to say Forest fans are going to get at me, and fair enough. I really thought this deal was going to happen. Kurt Roberts thinks Rodgers is a lot better than Morgan Gibbs-White. Yeah, but he's not going to come to Spurs, is he, realistically? Joshua says, this is now serious with the fixtures this season. Spurs are genuine relegation risks. I don't agree with that. Why, with the fixtures this season, the fixtures being the same as they are every season? You play every team twice. That's how it works. Billy says, go spend that money on Eza. No, he wants to go to Arsenal. Prime Italia says, embarrassing, just totally embarrassing. Big clubs bullying others to get their top choices. I guess you're talking about Chelsea and Simons and stuff like that. Plush Teddy says Romano not daring to tweet. Yeah. Oh, dearie me. Giorno says, I think with Mohamed in, Kulu and Madison can focus on the number 10 role, so I think it's not as big as a hit. We absolutely needed Kudus, though. Yeah. Yeah, and Kurt agrees, Eza only wants Arsenal. And DB says we're spending 10 million on a kid and calling it a day. Dean, I'm going to just hold my hands up when the Forest fans come in at me. It's fair enough. Spurs embarrassed again by Forest. Love to see it. O'Frere says, Levy has brought us shame. It's going to be big. Got people going in on Levy for the next week or two. It's going to be horrible. Show Me Light says, I just want this season over. SH says he ain't signed anything yet. He has. He signed his deal. It's been released. Cardiff Airport FC says, make a statement, get Isak. Isak will go for only like 150 million pounds. The Spurs do not have it. That is a fact. So many of you commenting. I really appreciate your support, guys. If you're not already, please do give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for daily Tottenham Hotspur news and transfer news. It's big night for Nottingham Forest fans. Really, really good. Fair play to them. Martin L says Spurs shopping trolley in a canal. Kai Vollet says, well, respect to you for showing up. Yeah, you've got to be able to give it and take it. Tony and AC. Conor Gallagher, yeah, he probably will be on the list. Decent Premier League player, but again, we need a bit more creativity, I think. Ian Samuel says, we got played. That was Morgan Gibbs-White and his representatives' plan all along. Man City backed off and Marinakis reacted the way they knew he would. Everyone got played and Morgan Gibbs-White got his money. Possibly. Billy says, go and get Ademola Lookman. Not for me. Never done it in the Premier League. He has improved since he's been in Serie A for sure, but Premier League he's never really done it. The Hitman says, window closes on September the 1st. Still time. We've got just over a month, but it does feel like we're in the mud at the moment. It really does. Mika wants us to go and get Harvey Elliott. That's an underwhelming signing as far as I'm concerned. Phil C says there is no investment. It's not looking great at the moment. Deary me. Diamond Dave saying Morgan Gibbs-White, no ambition, no trophies for him, just money in the bank. Yeah, I did ask earlier, I wonder if Forest fans, imagine if Morgan Gibbs-White has a bit of a drop-off in form this season, then Forest fans would probably start getting on his back, wouldn't they? Wondering if he's just demotivated after getting the money. Uphill Gardner says this is a season with Champions League. It could be a long time till Champions League football as well. CICR says the phrase never count your chickens comes to mind. Yep, fair enough. Hold my hands up. I thought it was going to happen, but it's not. Deary me. It's a bad evening for Spurs. But tomorrow's a new day. And like I said, the only positivity I can find out of this is that this is going to put huge pressure on Levy and Vinay to come up with something for Thomas Frank in terms of creativity. Because the 2 games today and the game against Reading showed that without Madison, without Kulusevski, we have no creativity down the middle of the pitch whatsoever. Mikey Moore is not ready to play in that number 10 role, and there's lots of talk about him going out on loan. And now Morgan Gibbs-White has signed a new deal at Nottingham Forest. It's a huge night for Forest fans, and they're going to be in on Spurs. When we go to the City ground, we'll get an absolutely horrible reaction, I'm sure. And this has started a new beef between Spurs and Forest. But fair play, Marinakis has put his money where his mouth is and paying Morgan Gibbs-White absolutely huge sums of money to stay at Nottingham Forest. All right, guys, thanks for jumping on. Really appreciate all your support. Do give the video a like. Do subscribe to the channel and press the notification bell button for daily Tottenham transfer news. And I'll jump on a live stream as soon as it looks like we're going to spend that money on some other creative player. But Morgan Gibbs-White, Nottingham Forest player now, and for the medium term at least. Come on, you Spurs.